Welcome back, learner. With the course Rudimentary Principles and Practices of Managerial Economics, Module 3, Consumer Behavior Part 2nd, Lecture number 11. The topic Indifference Curve Analysis. In the last lecture, we had discussed consumer surplus. Today, we are going to start with the new concept, that is indifference curve analysis, in which we are going to discuss historical background of indifference curve analysis, concepts, definitions, assumptions, indifference schedule, curve, map and character or properties of indifference curve. Before actually starting with the concept of indifference curve analysis, let us understand. Modern economists criticized the classical economists who actually measure the utility on the basis of cardinal approach. They said utility can be measured in terms of quantitative number and marginal utility of money remains constant. But in reality, utility cannot be measured in numbers, as utility is a psychological phenomena that depends on the mental makeup of the consumer. That is why we can only give preference to the various goods and services the consumer is consuming. And that is why indifference curve analysis is based on the ordinal approach of utility. Modern economics Hicks suggested the utility should be measured in terms of ordinal numbers. That means you can prefer one commodity to other commodity. You can say this commodity is giving me more satisfaction, less satisfaction or equal to satisfaction, but you cannot express in terms of number. Edgeworth first introduced the concept of indifference curve in his well-known book Mathematical Physics in the year 1881. Johnson, an Italian economist, and Slutsky, a Russian economist, further developed it. Finally, the concept was developed by the economics Hicks, and they said utility need to be measured in ordinal. That means it is an ordinal approach. And they define it as a tool for analyzing the behavior of consumer and was covered in well-known book Value and Capital. So, classical economists considered marginal utility as a concept for measuring the utility. But the modern economist considered ordinal approach of measuring the utility, and for this they have introduced the concept known as indifference curve analysis. What is indifference curve analysis? Indifference curve basically is the combination of two goods that will give same level of satisfaction to the consumer at any point in the indifference. That means if the consumer is consuming two commodities and he is consuming any combination of that two commodities, all the combination will give the same level of satisfaction to the consumer. And that is why the name of indifference curve is indifference. That means the consumer is indifferent at any point in the indifference, whether it is the combination A, combination B, combination C, combination D, any combination. Each combination is giving the same level of satisfaction. Indifference curve basically study the behavior of consumer, which is based on the concept of ordinal utility. Ordinal utility says that consumer can prefer one commodity over the other commodity. They can say that this commodity is given less satisfaction, this commodity is given more satisfaction. For example, mango is preferred over orange, orange is preferred over banana, banana is preferred over papaya. So you are actually preferring, you are choosing your preference, which particular fruits you are liking the most. You are ordering them. So that is why it is based on the concept of ordinal utility. Ordinal utility means order. You are putting the priorities of your order of preference. Then it is scale of preference, because we know that the income of the consumer is limited and the wants are unlimited. So you have to choose only one want at a point of time. So you have to prefer. For example, you are hungry and you really want, you are having only 500 rupees. So you can even have a burger with cold drink, or you can have a pizza. You can't have both the commodities at a one time because the money is only 500. So you have to make the preference. Either you can have cold drink plus burger, or you can have pizza. So you have to prefer only one commodity at a time. So this is a scale of preference. The next, marginal rate of substitution. Just like cardinal approach was based on the concept of diminishing marginal utility, in the same manner, indifference curve is also based on marginal rate of substitution. What does this mean? That means you need to substitute one commodity with the other commodity. If you really want to increase the consumption of commodity Y, then you have to reduce the consumption of X. But as you are going to reduce the consumption of other commodity, you are less willing to give up. So that means you are substituting one commodity with the other commodity, but at a diminishing rate. Why? Because as we know, if you are going to reduce the consumption of any commodity, the utility will increase. And if you increase the consumption of any other commodity, the utility will fall. So in that manner, one side the utility is increasing and the other side the utility is falling. And that is why the consumer remains indifferent at any combination in the indifference curve. This indifference curve is also known as equal satisfaction curve, ISO utility curve, equal utility curve. That means at any point in the indifference curve, whatsoever is the combination of the two commodity you are going to consume, each combination will yield the same level of satisfaction. And that is why the consumer are indifferent to choose any combination, because they are getting the same satisfaction. There are various definitions that was given by J.K.S. Thum, K.E. Boulding and Leftwich. All are saying the same thing. If you are increasing the consumption of one commodity, you have to reduce the consumption of the other commodity, and that should be at diminishing rate, but all the combination will yield the same level of satisfaction. Every combination will give you same satisfaction. Assumption of indifference curve. As I told, every law is based on some or the assumptions. The first assumption of indifference curve is the behavior of consumer is rational. Every consumer is rational in nature. Rational means they always try to maximize the benefits from consuming the commodity because they have limited income. So every rational consumer wants to maximize its benefit out of the limited income. The second assumption is it is based on the concept of ordinal approach of utility. As this concept is based on ordinal approach of utility, because ordinal utility says you can give preference. You want pizza, you want burger, you want sandwich. So you are preferring. Suppose if you have 5 dresses and you have to choose only 1 dresses. So actually you are preferring one clothes over the other clothes. So you have to prefer, you have to give your scale of preference. So that is why it is based on the concept of ordinal. Ordinal utility means you have to order your preference as per your priorities. The third, you have to consume more than one commodity. Just one commodity, you have to choose more commodity. Basically, in difference curve, for the application of this curve, minimum 2 commodity is needed. You cannot perform the indifference curve just by one commodity, as it was possible in case of cardinal approach. But for the indifference curve analysis, minimum 2 commodity need to be considered. The consumer must consume minimum 2 commodities at a time. It can be more than 2, but it can't be less than 2. Diminishing marginal rate of substitution. This concept is based on diminishing marginal rate of substitution. Diminishing marginal rate of substitution means if you want to increase the consumption of X, you have to reduce the consumption of Y. So for increasing X, you have to reduce Y. But if you are reducing the Y, that means for every successive unit of X, you are less ready to forego one more extra unit of Y. So you are reducing this Y, but at a diminishing rate. Why? Why? Because of this. When you are increasing the consumption of X, utility will get less, and you are reducing the consumption of Y, so utility will increase. So increase in utility and reduce in utility will compensate each other, and that is why the consumer get the same level of satisfaction by choosing any combination of the goods. Next, consumer is consistent in his choice. Every consumer, the behavior is somewhere consistent. That means, for example, if consumer A prefer over B, if consumer likes commodity A over B, definitely all the time he will be using commodity A only, though commodity B is given to him. Sometimes, as we know, we have a choice. We always want to consume our choice first. Why? Because our behavior is consistent. So whatever we are using, we are going to use in the same consistent manner. If I am preferring commodity A over B, definitely I am going to prefer A over B in later period also. Next, the behavior of the consumer is characterized by transitivity. This means, say, if A is prefer over B, B is prefer over C, then definitely A will be prefer over C. That is the pattern. If you are liking commodity A over B, you are liking commodity B over C, that means this A will be over C as well. The consumer has full information regarding the price of the goods in the market. Every consumer knows perfect knowledge about what are the various goods and what are their price, because every consumer demands the product by considering the price of that product, because it is the price that creates the demand of the product. Because the income of the consumer is limited and they have to make the judicious use of their income, so definitely the price of the commodity need to be considered for choosing any goods and services. That was all about indifference assumptions. Now coming up with the new part, indifference schedule, curve and map. Indifference schedule. Schedule means a tabular representation. You are representing in the form of table. So indifference schedule is basically the combination of two goods that will give same level of satisfaction, and this is known as indifference schedule. Whatever is the combination, the satisfaction will remain constant throughout the period of consumption. So, suppose this could be more easily explained with the help of example. As you can see, there is indifferent schedule that have 4 columns. The column 1 shows the various combinations of the goods. The column B denotes commodity X, that is banana. The column 3, that is Y, denotes the commodity mango. And the third, fourth column is the satisfaction column. There are various combinations. Combination A, combination B, combination C, combination D, combination E. So, consumer can choose any combination. But what you can see? You are seeing that you are increasing the consumption of banana 1 to 2. When you are consuming 1 banana plus 18 mango, you are having the combination of A. Second, you are increasing the consumption of banana by 1 and you are reducing the mango by 4. That means you have reduced the mango by 4. That means you have increased 1 banana and for that 1 banana you have reduced 4 mango. Then again you are increasing 1 more banana and you are reducing how much mango for 1 banana. That means 14 to 11, that is 3. Again you are increasing 1 more banana and you are reducing how much mango? You are reducing 2. Again you are increasing 1 more banana and you are reducing 1 mango. What you can see? You can see that there is increase in the consumption of banana 1 by 1. That means you are increasing banana. And what you are doing? You are reducing the consumption of mango. Why? Because the income is limited. If you need to sacrifice one commodity for the other, you cannot consume both the commodity. One has to substitute one goods for the other. But the important point is that you are increasing banana, but now you are ready to give less mango for every increase of banana. This is what? There is the substitution between banana and mango, but that substitution is at a diminishing rate. How can you say that? From 4 to 3, 3 to 2 and 2 to 1. You have reduced, but in a reducing pattern you are giving one more unit of mango. In this manner, you are increasing banana, the utility from banana will be falling, and you are reducing the consumption of mango, so that means utility will be high. So, increase in utility and reduce in utility, one is increasing, ultimately the satisfaction level is same. And that is why the indifference curve says you are at any point, you are consuming any combination that will give you same level of satisfaction. Whether you are consuming the combination A that consists of 1 banana plus 18 mango, combination B 2 banana 14 mango, combination C 3 banana 11 mango, combination D 4 banana 9 mango, combination E 5 banana and 8 mango. Whatever you are consuming, every combination gives you same satisfaction. That is why you can choose any combination. Maybe Mr. Y will choose combination A, Mr. X will choose combination B, Mr. Z will choose combination C, any person. As per their need, as per their preference, as they per liking, they will choose the different combination of the goods, because every combination will yield the same level of satisfaction. What is indifference curve? When you are going to plot this indifference schedule in the form of graph, it is known as indifference curve. Indifference curve is nothing but the points representing, each point in the indifference curve represent the same level of satisfaction. A consumer can be at any point in the indifference curve and give him the same satisfaction. So, putting the indifference schedule in the form of the graph is known as indifference graph. For example, the graph can be y, x, 0. This is you are increasing the consumption of banana and you are reducing the consumption of mango. So, earlier when you were consuming this much mango, you were consuming this much banana. Now, you have reduced the banana and you are increasing mango, then reducing, then increasing, then reducing, then increasing. That means you are increasing one commodity and you are reducing the another commodity. So, this point is A, point B, point C, point D, point E. All this point are the, when you are going to plot all this point, this will give you IC curve, known as indifference curve. A consumer at any point, combination A, B, C, D, E, whatsoever, the consumer is getting the same level of satisfaction, and this is known as indifference curve. You can see this graph, mango on the y-axis, banana on the x-axis, all this point A, B, C, D, E representing the various combination of mango plus banana, mango plus banana, mango plus banana, like this. So every satisfaction, if you want to add this satisfaction or you want to add this point, both the point will give you the same satisfaction. Indifference map. When combination of indifference curve are grouped together and plotted in a graph, then that is known as indifference map. Indifference map is nothing but the combination of the various indifference curve. In indifference map, higher indifference curve represent higher level of satisfaction and lower indifference curve represent lower level of satisfaction. Why? Because higher indifference curve is the combination of higher commodities and lower indifference curve represent the lower combination of the two goods. So as you are going to move towards the right in the indifference map, you are going to have higher satisfaction. And as you are moving towards the left, that means lesser combination of the goods, that means lesser satisfaction. This can also be explained with the help of graph. Suppose again this is your y-axis, x-axis and 0. This is IC1, this is IC2, this is IC3, this is IC4. That means as per this diagram, in this indifference map, you are having 4 indifference curve. But IC4 is towards the right and IC1 is towards the left. So IC4 will give you the maximum satisfaction in comparison to the IC1 which gives you the least satisfaction. You can see this is the point, this is the point and this is the point and this is the point. If you are going to join, this represent only this much combination of the goods. IC2 is having this much combination of the goods. IC3 is having this much combination of the goods. IC4 is having this much combination of the goods. So we can easily see with every moving towards the right, there is increase in the consumption of both the commodities. So higher indifference curve represent higher combination of the goods, means higher satisfaction level. And each indifference curve is unique, will give same level of satisfaction. That means IC1, throughout the IC1 you will have same satisfaction. Throughout the IC4 you will have same satisfaction, but the satisfaction of IC1 is totally different from the satisfaction of IC4. So that was the indifference map. Now coming with the properties of indifference curve. The very first property of the indifference curve says that indifference curve slopes downward, negatively sloped, or indifference curve slopes from left to right. Left to right means in order to increase the consumption of one commodity, you have to reduce the consumption of other commodity. You cannot increase both the commodity, you cannot reduce both the commodity. Either one commodity is increasing and the other commodity need to be decreasing. So that is why indifference curve is negatively sloping from left to right. For example, this is your indifference curve, okay? Y, 0 and X. This is commodity Y, this is commodity X. You are consuming this much of Y and this much of X. Now you are reducing Y and you are increasing X. Again you are reducing Y and you are increasing X. So what is this? This is negatively sloped or not. That is why indifference curve is negatively slope. You are increasing x and you are reducing y. That is the reason why it is negatively slow. Second, indifference curve is convex to the origin. Why convex to the origin? You need to substitute one commodity with the other commodity. Indifference curve is based on marginal rate of substitution. If you want to increase consumption of X, you have to reduce the consumption of Y. But this substitution of one commodity with the other commodity is at the diminishing rate, and that is the reason why indifference curve is convex to the origin. Again the same graph, y 0 x, this is Z commodity and you are consuming O commodity. Okay, so you are consuming this much, this, again you are reducing Z, you are increasing O, you are reducing Z, you are increasing O. So your indifference curve is convex in nature. This is the convex. So convex means increasing one commodity for the other commodity, but the rate of substitution is diminishing. Suppose if you substituted one commodity with the other commodity and that rate of substitution is increasing in nature, then your IC would have been like this. If you are substituting one commodity with the other commodity in a constant rate, then your IC must be like a straight line. But your indifference curve is always convex from the origin because the rate of substitution is diminishing in nature, and this diminishing nature is represented by the convexity of this graph. Next, indifference curve never touches any axis, neither y or neither z, y axis or x axis. Why? Because this indifference curve says that minimum two commodity need to be consumed at a time. Indifference curve is not applicable in case of one commodity. So only minimum two commodity need to be consumed. So it can never touch any of the axis, because touching any axis means you are consuming only one commodity and you are not consuming the other commodity, and which fail the very basis of this law that says that minimum two commodity need to be consumed for the application of this law. For example, y, 0 and x. Suppose if it is touches any of the axis, if it is touching x axis, that means you are consuming this much of commodity and you are not consuming the y. If it is going to touch this axis, that means you are consuming this and you are foregoing this. So that means you can't, the indifference curve will never touch any of the axis, because touching any axis means you are not consuming the other commodity. That is why indifference curve is always represented like this, does not touch any of the axis. Indifference curve never intersect each other. As I told you already, each individual indifference curve give the same level of satisfaction. In that same IC curve, you can be at any point and every point give you the same satisfaction. But two different indifference curve represent two different combination of the two commodity. So they can never intersect each other. For example, this is one IC representing this much of combination. This is IC2 representing this much of combination. So IC2 and IC1, both these IC curves represent different satisfaction, but you remain same at any point at IC1 and you remain same at any point in IC2, and that is why it has been said two indifference curve can never intersect each other, because if they will intersect, this will be the common point, and common point means both IC will give same satisfaction. That is not possible. So both IC curve can never intersect. Each IC curve represent each level of combination of the good, which is different from the other IC. Higher indifference curve represent a higher level of satisfaction than the lower one. As I already discussed you people, indifference map Y, 0, X. These are the various IC, IC1, IC2, IC3, IC4. So this is indifference map that consists of 4 IC curve, IC1, IC2, IC3 and IC4. Each IC curve is unique and each IC curve is different from each other and giving different level of satisfaction. So IC4 is the higher IC curve and IC1 is the lower IC curve. So this will give you the least satisfaction and this will give you the maximum satisfaction, because this is having this much combination of the two goods and this is having only this much of the combination of two goods. So that is why towards the right you will get the higher satisfaction and towards the left you are going to have less satisfaction. Indifference curve cannot be rising upward. Indifference curve is always like this. It can never be like this, rising upward, because indifference curves say X is reducing, Y will be increasing. One commodity need to be reduced, other commodity need to rise, then only the same level of satisfaction is there. But that is why it is downward slope. But when you are saying rising upward, that means both X need to increase and that is next to, both commodity cannot increase. This is next to impossible because the income is limited. You have to make choice. You have to increase one and you have to reduce the other. Indifference curve cannot be perpendicular and horizontal, because what did indifference curve say? Indifference curve says you are increasing X, you are reducing Y, but you are increasing and you are reducing. So you can't make the quantity constant. For example, if it is the perpendicular is like this, you are increasing this much of commodity, Y, 0 and X. So this commodity mango is constant. You are increasing the consumption of banana from this to this, from this to this, from this to this. So you are keeping one commodity as constant, but you are increasing other commodity. So that is next to impossible. Again, it can't be horizontal. In this case, the IC will be like this. You are keeping banana as constant and you are increasing the consumption of mango. which is next to impossible. That means this law says one need to be increasing, the other need to be decreasing. If it will be constant, that means it can be perpendicular, it can be horizontal. If it is a horizontal, then this will be the IC curve, and if this will be perpendicular, then this will be IC curve. So, for today's we have discussed all about indifference curve. Indifference curve is a modern approach for measuring the behavior of the consumer, which talks about ordinal approach of utility in which the consumer gave preference, or in which the consumer gave its priority for choosing the various goods and services because the income of the consumer is limited. So, consumer going to choose the various combination in such a manner that each combination gives you the same level of satisfaction. So, indifference curve says that at any point in the indifference curve, whatsoever is the combination the consumer is consuming, the satisfaction level remains same, and that is why the name itself represents that consumer is indifferent. They just want to satisfy their satisfaction. So, this is all about for today's class. We'll meet you in the next session. Thank you.